Hello everybody, you are so welcome with me today with a new lesson which is simple present or present simple. Okay, so we are going to explain this tense and we're going to deal with the use of simple present, the form of simple present, which means affirmative, negative and interrogative form, and finally we're going to deal with some signal words that are used with the simple present. Okay, so let's start. Okay, let's start with the first item, which is the use of simple present. When do we use simple present? So here I've given 4 uses, but sure there are others. Okay, anyway, let's start with these, which are the most important ones. Okay, so the first one is we use simple present to express an habitual action, an action that we usually do. Okay, we usually do, so it becomes a habit. For example, I visit my grandmother every weekend. So we visit our grandma every weekend, so it becomes a habit. We don't ask ourselves, are we going to visit our grandma this weekend or not, because we know that we are going to do, since it becomes an habitual action. I hope that the first one is clear. Or let's give another example. For example, we travel every summer. Okay, so when summer comes, we know that we're going to travel somewhere. Okay, this is another example. Let's move on to the second use. We use again simple present to express routines. Okay, the word routine, we use it even in Arabic, in French. Okay, so routines, program. Okay, when I say program, is like timetable or schedule, something which is programmed, something that has a fixed time. For example, school starts at 8 a.m. and finishes at 6 p.m. Okay, for example, here I'm talking about a program. So the school always opens at 8 and closes or finishes at 6. Okay, so it's a timetable, it's a program, we can't change it. For example, if I'm going to travel, let's say the train leaves at 10. Okay, the train leaves at 10. Why? It has a program to leave at 10. So it's a timetable, it's a routine. That's it. So I hope that the second use is quite clear. Let's move on to the third one. So again, we use simple present to express facts. What does mean the word facts? Facts are true things, are correct things, things that we can't discuss. Okay, because here we're talking about scientific things or natural one. So you can't discuss, like when you are talking about science, when you are talking about maths, about something we are sure that it's correct. For example, when I say 1 + 1 it gives 2. Here I'm talking about facts. I'm talking about something that we all agree about. Okay, let's see the example here. Ice melts when it's hot. So here, when I give you this sentence, I'm sure that you already know the idea. I'm sure that you already have an idea that when it's hot in summer and when you buy an ice cream, so it melts. Okay, it melts. The opposite is freezes. Okay, so ice cream, for example, ice cream melts when it's hot. I hope that here facts clear. The last use here, or the fourth one, is to express general ideas. When I say general ideas, idea that the majority of people know it or agree about it. For example, when I say children love chocolate, yes, we're going to find some children who don't like chocolate, but the majority do. For example, when I say again, children love potatoes, yes? So the majority of children like potatoes. Again, when I give you let's give another example. When I say girls, normally girls have long hair. Okay? Girls have long hair. Yes, there are some girls who have short ones. But the general idea that the majority of girls, 99% of girls have long hair. So I hope that the general idea is quite clear. Okay, an idea that we all agree about, or that we all maybe know. So I hope that the uses of simple presents are quite clear. So let's repeat them, please. Habitual action, okay, which means l'habitude. Program, timetable, schedule, routines, un programme. Facts, okay, for example, when I say scientific facts, des choses scientifiques, for example, 1 plus 1 est égal 2. And to express general ideas, des idées générales, okay. So these are the 4 uses. Let's move on to the form. Affirmative, negative, and interrogative, okay? So we have 3 forms. Let's start with the first one, which is the affirmative form, okay? For the affirmative form, we have to know that we have 3 changes. We have some spelling rules that we have to abide by, that we have to respect. But sure, these spelling rules are just with he, she, and it. We call it the third person singular. So, troisième personne singulier. These spelling rules are with he, she, and it, which means the other personal pronouns have no changes. Okay? So forget about the other personal pronouns because there are no changes in simple present. So please concentrate on the third person singular, concentrate on he, she, and it. Okay? Very good. So let's start with these spelling rules, which are sometimes we add an S to the verb, and sometimes we add ES. And again, sometimes we add IES. Okay? We start with the first rule, with the first spelling rule, which is when do we add S? This is the question. So have a look with me here. So the rule says we add an S to the majority of the verbs. When I say the majority, so for example, let's say 60% or more. Okay? 60% or more of verbs are having an S. When? With the third person singular, he, she, and it. Okay? For example, I speak English, but he speaks English. Okay? He speaks English. Let's give another example. I play football. He plays football. Okay, another example. I know Sarah. She knows Sarah. So all these verbs have an S in the third person singular, he, she, and it. Have a look on I. So I speak, we speak, you speak, they speak. Okay? And here, he speaks, she speaks, and it speaks. So I hope that the first rule is clear. Let's move on to the second. Okay, let's continue with the second spelling rule is when do we add ES to the verb. Okay, so what I told you here, the majority of the verbs are added or we have to add the S for them. Sure, I hear 60%, which means that we still have 40% of verbs. So here 60% of the verbs have, or we have to add an S to form simple present, and here 20% of the verbs we have to add to them ES to form again simple present. Okay, so let's see what kind of verbs we have to add an ES. Okay, so this is the first, let's say, exception. We add ES to verbs the end that finish in CH, SH, O, double S, X, and Z. Okay, so I repeat, the verbs that end, that finish in these letters, CH, SH, O, double S, X, and Z, here you have to add an ES instead of S. Okay, the answer is quite easy. Why we have to add ES, not S? Because you can't find a word that finish with 3 S's. Okay, double S, it's okay, but 3 S's we can't find the word that finish with this, or XS. Okay, so that's how we can explain that. Anyway, let's see the examples. For example, I watch TV. I watch TV. So the verb here finished with ch. So he watches TV. He watches TV. So I add es. Again, please concentrate on the third person singular. The third person singular. He watches TV. Or I catch. He catches. Okay? Let's see the second example. I finish. Yes. I fish. We fish. Okay? It's a verb. Okay? She fishes. We add es. Okay? Es. Another example. We go or we do. Okay? We go to school. She goes. She goes. We add es, not s. Okay? The following verb is kiss. They kiss. Okay? Double s. Double s. So he kisses his mom. He kisses. We add e, then s. I give two examples orally here because I don't have the space where to write them. Okay, I'm going to give them orally. So for example, fix or mix. Yes, fix or mix. So I fix the car. I fix the car. So he fixes. Fixes, I add es. I add es to the third person singular. He fixes, she fixes, or it fixes. Okay? The last verb, which is buzz, for example. Buzz, it buzzes. Okay? It's the sound of the bee. The sound of the bee, buzz. Okay? This is buzz, so it buzzes. Clear? So I hope that the second spelling rule is quite clear. So we add es again to the verbs that finish in ch, sh, o, double s, x, and z. Please, I always talk about the third person singular, he, she, and it. The other personal pronouns have no changes. Have a look here. So I watch, we go, we kiss, I change nothing, I add nothing. Okay? Let's move on to the third spelling rule, which is when do we add ies? So 60%, 20% is 80%, so we still have 20% again of verbs. Let's see the rule. Yes, for the last spelling rule is, as I told you, verb plus ies. We add ies to verbs that end in y, the end that finish in y. But please, the y preceded is précédé, okay? Preceded by consonant, but sure, after you remove the y. I repeat, we add ies to verbs that end in y, preceded by consonant. Okay, the y should be preceded by consonant after you remove the y. So let's see the example and you're going to understand more. So they study. Study is a verb that ends in y, qui se termine avec y, yes? And the y is précédé par consonants. D is a consonant, okay? So what shall we do? We remove the y, okay? We remove it, you delete it, and I write ies. Okay, let's see the second example. We carry the bags, or the school bag, for example. We carry, yes? Or Harry, for example. The change here, she carries. What shall we do? We remove the y and you put ies. Please pay attention. The y should be preceded by a consonant. You know the consonants B, T, S, M, L, P, N, and so on and so forth. G, L, R. All these are consonants. Okay? Pay attention, please. As I told you, the y should be preceded by consonants. Have a look here on the verb play. Play, yes, it finishes with y. Yeah? But it's preceded by vowel. A is a vowel. So what shall we do? it goes with the majority of the verbs, so we add only S. So I play football, he plays football. We add S. Why? Because it's preceded, because the Y preceded by vowel. So I hope that the 3 spell rules are clear. So these are the 3 spell rules that go with the third person singular, he, she, and it. I repeat again that the other personal pronoun have no changes. Okay? So this is the affirmative form. Let's move on to the negative form. Okay? Negative form, what is the form of the sentence? How shall I form a sentence in a negative form? Or the first thing we start a sentence with is subject. Okay, subject. And since we're going to talk about negative form, so we use the auxiliary. Okay, the auxiliary is always do or does. It depends on the subject. Okay, it depends on the subject. So I do, we do, you do, and they do. And here he does, she does, and it does. So the verb here finishes with O, we add es. So does, it becomes does with the third person singular. So I write it. I hope that it's quite clear here. So subjects, I, we, you, or they. So we use do not because we are talking about negative, so not to make negative form. So I do not, or we do not, you do not, which means don't. So I don't, we don't, you don't, and they don't. Or he does not, she does not, it does not. You can write doesn't. Okay, so he does not, she does not, or it does not, plus verb in the base form. What is the base form? The base form is the infinitive without to. For example, play, not to play, play. So I repeat again the form. So subject plus do not or does not plus verb in the base form, which is the infinitive without to. Let's give examples to understand more. So the first example is I do not. I don't, or I do not speak. Look at the verb here. No changes, okay? Speak Spanish. Okay, the second example, okay, he does not speak Spanish. This is the second example. He does not speak Spanish. Pay attention, please. So in the affirmative form, with he, we add an S here. But here, we conjugate the auxiliary, not the verb. Okay, in French, we say deux verbes que se suivent, le deuxième se met à l'infinitive. So here, we conjugate the auxiliary, and we keep the verb in the base form, in the infinitive without to. Okay, I hope that the negative form is quite clear. Please just bear in mind that the verb here is in the base form and that we use do not with I, we, you, and they, and does not with he, she, and it. Let's move on to the last form, which is the interrogative. Go on. Nice. So the last form, which is the interrogative form. How shall I form a sentence in the interrogative form? You know that since it's a question, we have to put the inversion of the subject. L'inversion sujet. Okay, the inversion of the subject. So we invert the subject with the auxiliary. If you still remember, in the negative form and in the affirmative form, we started the sentence with subject, then the verb, or then the auxiliary in the negative form. But here, in the interrogative form, we invert them. So we start with the auxiliary, again, do or does. Again, it depends on the subject, plus verb. Verb is in the base form. The base form, as I told before, is the infinitive without to. Okay? As I told before, le verbe que se suive, le deuxième se met à l'infinitive. We conjugate the auxiliary here, which is do or does, and we always keep the verb in the base form, in the infinitive. Let's give examples to understand more. So the first example is do. The first example is, do you speak Spanish? And don't forget the question mark because it's a question. Do you speak Spanish? Do we speak Spanish? Do they speak Spanish? So I invert the subject with the auxiliary. I start with the auxiliary plus the subject plus the verb in the base form, and I continue my sentence with an object or whatever. Yes? Let's see the second example. Does he speak Spanish? Again, we invert the subject with the auxiliary. So the subject here is he. So I write does. If the subject is she, again, does. Okay? So does he speak Spanish? The verb is in the base form. So I hope that the three forms are quite clear: affirmative, negative, and interrogative. You have just to concentrate a little bit and it's going to be quite easy. Let's move on to the last item, which is the signal words. Go on. Nice. So the last item is signal words. The first question is, what do we mean with signal words? So signal words are words that show you the tense of the verb. For example, sometimes they give you an exercise, a multiple tense exercise, okay, and you have to write the verb in the correct tense, okay? So when I have to look for the signal word, I clearly understand that the verb should be conjugated in simple present or in simple past or in future or, okay? That's it. So they show you the time of the verb. Yes? Let's give examples. So nice. So here are some examples of signal words that are used in simple present. Let's start. Always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely or seldom. They are synonyms. Never, every plus something. For example, every day, every year, every night, every summer, etc. Every morning. At the weekend or at the weekends with S, when you have an S on the days of the week or the weekend, which means every weekend, okay? At the weekends, which means every weekend. On Saturdays again, which means every Saturday, okay? So here are these words that I'm going to underline are adverbs of frequency, okay? Adverbs of frequency, I'm not going to talk about them right now because I'm going to do another video to explain them in order not to have a long video. Anyway, so these are adverbs of frequency. Whenever I see these words, I have to understand that I'm talking about simple present. And again, every, etc., at the moment, and so on and so forth. So here they have a position in the sentence. However, these ones could be by the end of the sentence. For example, I visit my grandma every weekend or at the weekends or on Saturdays. Normally, their position is by the end of the sentence. So I hope that simple present is quite clear. I hope that benefit from this video. Thank you so much for your attention and see you next time in another video. Goodbye and take care.